Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks, and this is my modern take on an E30 M3 Track car. So I thought, as we got a load of new subscribers to the YouTube channel, and we're a bit better at doing YouTube now than we were when we actually did the build series for this car, which is probably one of the first things we sort of semi-documented properly. But yeah, the car's kind of a few years old now, and I thought we'd do a dedicated video showing you around the car. So yeah, at the heart of the car, quite literally, see if I can do this with one hand. Quite a challenge. You have to excuse the mess in here. But yeah, at the heart of the project, S65 4-litre V8 engine, the last M car engine ever made, because let's face it, that turbo nonsense does not count. To get this sitting in the car as I wanted it, I actually moved it back quite a long way. I made a custom top to the airbox, a carbon fibre lid for that, and underneath that are some custom 3D printed trumpets, which basically are the same length as a stock trumpet because they bend over and kind of snake around underneath there, but it allows me to reduce the height of that airbox quite significantly and close a standard bonnet. And it really is just about, as you can see, it's rubbing there ever so slightly. That's mated to an E30 M3 kind of off-the-shelf K&N kit that has been modified with our own custom-made partition here, which seals against the bonnet again really nicely and lets cold air in through the headlights around the headlight grille there. There's lots of metal work done here, obviously, at Dynatorque. Craig did all of the hard work with this, with the fabrication sort of to my design, my specific requirements, and as you can see, the turrets are custom made with top mounts moved forward massively. These are HSD monopro top mounts. They've been, I've anodised them black, they're normally green. I didn't think the green would go well against the blue. And also they're sitting on top of the turrets because basically we've made this so that it's hugely caster adjustable as well. So I can push the top mount really far forward as I've got in this position. Tubs, wheel tubs, and some updated work to the roll cage inside the car were done by Nixon Motorsport. These are huge clearance tubs. Can't really show you in massive detail, but yeah, basically there's an absolutely massive amount of work done to give me a lot of vertical clearance here. To allow the wheel to travel a lot further than it would on a standard M3. I can use these relatively big wheels and tyres and have full clearance. The radiator is a standard E30 M3 radiator, and I always try where I can to use the radiator that's meant to go with an engine, and more specifically the fan that's meant to go with it, because they're kind of designed to work together, and this works superbly. A lot of work done to ducting here, lots of custom work with just plastic sheeting and sort of rubber trim. That this basically sandwiches in front of that are two absolutely gigantic oil coolers. One's for the engine oil cooling and one's for the DCT cooling. And I'll just quickly explain why the need for the gigantic oil coolers. As you can see, there's not much of an opening on an E30 M3 for cooling. The standard engine did not generate half the heat that the S65 does. So there's a lot of work that's been done, as I say, with the ducting inside, but also a big concern of mine was having to wreck the styling of the front bumper, but we've quite subtly managed to cut out this to make it look like the black trim is still there. And again, the ducting there has just sort of added enough airflow, enough power for the air to make it through the oil coolers, through the radiator, and cool it all down, keep it all cool nicely. So, interior, sparse. A pair of Recaro SPGs, some lovely posh Driftworks harnesses. Got a Nardi personal steering wheel. Driftworks are one of the biggest distributors of Nardi and personal steering wheels in the UK. Shameless plug. Check the seating position out though. I'm a big guy, 6'2". I know it's confusing that we use feet and inches for some stuff and centimetres and millimetres for other, but you know, that's the way of the UK. So it's a custom steering column, and you can just about make out there is a Renault Clio electric power steering pump, and that's controlled by this knob here. Basically makes it firmer, softer. Worked really well because it ended up being perfectly positioned to brace against one of the bars that we've got here, the chassis bars, so worked out really nice. Cold air feed, aim dash, which takes 17 years to boot up, which I'm not sure why. I think possibly something to do with the Cyvex confusing it as it boots up. Yeah, buttons on the steering wheel. These are remote buttons and flappy paddles for the DCT, and they basically send a transmission to the little box that you see here, which is the CarTech controller. And you can see as I click a button, it basically fires that there. Other little knobs and buttons here. This one's cal switch, so I can change calibration in the Cyvex. This one's traction control, which obviously doesn't get used too much. We've got cold air feed, hot air, which goes to the screen, ABS on and off, ABS warning light. This doesn't do anything anymore. This used to be the force controller when we had the standard GCU in here on the DCT, and start button and ECU on. The standard shifter is here, and we made this little parking knob here, which is quite handy because the car doesn't have a handbrake. Down here we've got a tilt and brake pedal, which has got bias adjustment in it, and that is a Mazda RX-8 pedal, I think. So yeah, there's the aim, and that gives me most of the data that I need. Got a load of warnings set up for it, for, you know, the standard stuff like oil pressure, heat, etc, etc. Not a lot else going on in here. We've got a Lifeline 360 fire extinguisher, very cool. We've got a load of Lifeline head padding as well, head protection here on the roll cage. Custom tunnel, obviously, as in the DCT gearbox. What else am I missing? Obviously I'm going to forget loads of stuff here, aren't I? The floor in the back is custom, and you can see the battery just about there, sunk into the floor. Some carbon panels, because just behind there is the fuel tank. I'll show you the passenger side actually. Passenger side, huge bird's nest, all surrounding the Cyvex, which is basically handled by Howell Race Engineering. Gareth there. He's done all the work with Cyvex on this car and a lot of the wiring as well. Behind here you can just about see the new Gearbox Controller, which is a HTG unit. Down here's the MK60 ABS unit, which is a CSL version that has been tuned specifically for this car. So much like the Bosch Motorsport system, it is perfectly tuned for everything to do with this car, from brake piston sizes to tyre sizes, tyre compound, brake bias, etc, etc. So that is absolutely amazing. Yaw sensor for that. Excuse the mess again, I'm doing a few calibrations at the moment. This is a bit of a mess down here. To be honest with you, in hindsight, I would much rather have gone for one of the new posh PDMs, but this was kind of built as they were a little bit of a faff, a little bit of an unknown. So yeah, it's just got a load of relays and fuses for now. Something that I might visit later on down the line. So we were just talking about ABS and how good that is, and part of the reason it's so good is because the brakes that are actually doing the work are absolutely incredible. These are Alcon front and rears. So that's the rear. and these are incredible. There's no servo assist on this car, but these work amazingly. We made the bells and the brackets for these with our friend Martin, the machinist. And as you can see over the top of them, we've got a nice set of work wheels. These are Work MCO Racing. Driftworks is the UK distributor for work wheels. These are 17 by 9 front and 17 by 10 rear. And I'm running Nankang AR1s in 235 40 17 front and 255 40 17 rear. Bodywork. Yeah, one of my favourite things about this car is the way that it looks. There's lots of custom stuff here made to look not that custom, which is kind of, if you've seen anything that I've done on my other cars, like the V10 M3 and even the Lamborghini to an extent, I tend to go to huge lengths to get something looking exactly how I want and do stuff that, you know, to a point a lot of people wouldn't necessarily even notice. So the front wings, not fenders, wings, these are custom. The wheelbase of the car is lengthened relatively significantly. So that wheel is, I can't remember, maybe 50 mil further forward than standard. So if I had the standard wing on, the aperture would be in a completely wrong place and the wheel and tyre would smash into it basically. So yeah, that's custom made to basically move the wheel forward and still have the correct radius in the arch. The arches are also pumped out. These are carbon fibre arches, and they're pumped out roughly, I want to say 40 mil wider than a standard M3 arch. And again, I did a huge amount of work on this to try and make it so you can't really tell that anything's done, unless you really know E30 M3s. Try and keep it sort of subtle looking. I hate the massive jutty arches that you see on a lot of these cars. So I think that was a massive success, and all of this is done with obviously with the help of Gaz from TJR Bodyworks, who is a genius and very patient when it comes to my requests. We got the carbon fibre mirrors, useless things, absolutely useless. Luckily, I've got the huge, I don't know if you can see that, huge multi-mirror, reverse mirror in this car, and this came out of the ASCAR that we used to build the Driftworks A86 originally. Rear arches, quarters, yeah, I'm that guy. I chopped off genuine E30 M3 arches off my car because they weren't good enough and basically made carbon fibre versions, and they're bolt-on. You know, a lot of people presume that this is a 325, especially those weirdo stalkers that put my registration in on the DVLA, because yeah, it is registered as a 325, so it can be road legal. And again, a hell of a lot of time was spent on these to pump them out massively to give me the clearance that I needed for the huge wheels and very low offset I'm using, while sort of retaining the original E30 M3 look. Didn't want hugely wide, horrible jutty out arches. Back, the boot lid doesn't have hinges. One of my most annoying things about it has these little pop stud things here, 5 of them, so 3 on the leading edge, 2 on the back, and I do not recommend using these. They're a right pain in the arse. I'm going to probably try and retrofit some hinges to this at some point so I can have a working boot lid again. Removing hinges from cars, from bonnets and from boot lids, just don't do it. It's not cool, kids. Rear has a new addition recently of some genuine StarTech rear lights, which look superb. And I've got a new rear bumper coming, new genuine rear bumper coming, because as you can see, this one's a little bit warped. It's a fiberglass one. Doesn't deal with the heat particularly well, but I think the warping was done before that when it was in storage. But yeah, we'll be making that look really nice again at some point. Most people draw attention to this. My Dtm Style tips. They're inspired by, it's not like a Dtm exhaust exactly, it's just kind of upswept. And it burns the crap out of the rear bumper, which I absolutely love. A lot of people look at this like some kind of show car, but I think this is super cool. having a big burnt section on the back bumper, as long as it doesn't actually set on fire. You'll see I've got a specific track day modification in there at the moment, which is basically a bung for one of the exits. It's a 3.5-inch system underneath here, and if I put the bung in one of these 3-inch tips here, it quietens it down quite nicely. And I think I'm probably going to do it permanently at some point, because you don't need a 3.5-inch system on a car that's got this sort of power. Yes, I should probably put it on the ramp and show you the suspension and the underneath of the car. So let's have a look underneath, and let's not look too closely because I've just done a week of daily driving this car, and yeah, while I can clean the top of it, I'm not so good at cleaning the underside of cars, nor do I care about cleaning the underside of cars as long as they're not going rusty. So let's start the front. There's not a lot to see because we've made, stop it touch. So I've made this under tray from plastic, the lips carbon fibre. We could probably do it in one piece eventually out of something a bit posher, but for now it's just done out of plastic, as you can see here. Not the easiest thing to do. It requires a load of custom braces and attachments, because obviously you can fully appreciate there's a lot going on underneath here in terms of air pressure, airflow, etc, etc. Suspension. The coilovers are HSD coilovers, and contrary to popular belief, they are literally just off-the-shelf E30 M3 coilovers. No custom valving, no anything, they're just monopros. Handling on this car is absolutely incredible. Yes, there are more expensive posh things out there, but for what we do, this is more than good enough. Did a lot of work to lower arms, custom lower arms, and making sure I've got clearance for the wheel, because the wheel's quite wide. So this was a kit that you could buy. We've changed the tension rod mounting point on it, done a load of welding, which, lots of people again will tell you you're not supposed to do stuff like this, but keeping a close eye on it, obviously. Don't want to see any cracks appearing, but I'm not concerned about it. On the other side you can see the anti-roll bar stab link that we've made, the bracket for that, and that goes up there to an adjustable blade type anti-roll bar, which I've just improved. You can't really see it. I've just increased the stiffness of that by 40% from its stiffest setting previously. So I've basically made a thicker bar between the two blades there. So yeah, again, the wheel is moved forward quite dramatically on the front, and that's done with this kit. As you can see, the arm leans forward quite a lot, and that's using this to brace it against this point here. Then you can see just here, sorry if it's a bit close, but this is a titanium skid plate that we made. Didn't need to use titanium, wanted sparks though. And I believe it does it, but I can't see them because I'm inside the car. leading on to, so that's all the sump on the engine protected and everything like that. That moves us on to the Dct Sump. This is a really cool billet part by Seems Legit Garage. They make this in this size and a bigger version. I went for the smaller one because height is a massive issue for this car. This one's not as deep as the one that I had on there originally, so I'm actually going to probably change the angle of the titanium skid plate a little bit. I can make it a little bit closer, bring it up a little bit basically. So it's just there to deflect off the Dct Sump basically. So now my ground clearance, thanks to this part, is massively improved, and I could potentially think about lowering the front a little bit more. My favourite game. Not a great deal going on in the middle of the car. Just twin 3-inch exhaust, and then goes to a Y here into 3.5-inch, custom prop with centre bearings up there. Nightmare to work on. We've also had to move the harness mount points a couple of times. That's why it looks a bit rough down here. Need to redo that properly at some point. Custom height beam adjustment here that Craig helped me make, which is superb. Allows me to sort of keep the beam axle in spec basically, even though the car's quite a lot lower than standard. And it's got these eccentric adjusters for the arms as well, which are built in, and some extra bracing and all sorts for the arms. Still a flawed system, but it's the original one that the car's built with. I think a large part of why the car handles like it does and it's so much fun to drive is because, you know, it's got the standard E30 M3 beam axle on it. It is a Z3M setup, the arms and everything, drive shafts. The diff is, I think it's an E32 diff. It's a 210, so it's the biggest one that you can get. 210 with a Drexler in it, made by limitedslip.de. And yeah, absolutely love that. Proper plated diff in any car is absolutely top of my list every time. And again at the back here you can see another custom adjustable blade type anti-roll bar, and this one we found, or I've found so far, is more than up to the job. It's coming on a stiffest setting, just so I can test it against the new stiffer front anti-roll bar. You can see the dropped battery box there. What else are we missing? You can see some bracing here. That's supporting the fuel tank, which is an 80 litre tank, which kind of sits above the diff there for decent weight distribution. And yeah, this is a 3.5-inch exhaust, which is completely unnecessary and a right pain in the ass to get around everything without knocking. So yeah, you can see that's very tight there. When I can be bothered, I'll probably just change this back section to single 3-inch. Quieten down the car again for my old ears. And there's those tips as well, you can see. So I guess I should probably warm it up and take it for a drive. So back at Driftworks the morning after. Sorry that was only a short video. It's a bit lethal on the road, that car, this car. So yeah, I figured I wouldn't get too carried away with it, but it gives you an idea of how quick it is, how it pulls through the gears and whatnot. Drives quite nicely when you're just sort of cruising as well now. There's still a little bit of work to do on the gearbox control, but yeah, generally I'm really happy with it, and I think the improvements that have been made recently with the Cyvex and gearbox controller talking to each other properly has really sort of renewed my enthusiasm for getting the car sorted. So we've done a few bits and bobs to the car recently over the past week, but that'll be for another video because we're preparing to go to Cadwell Park. But for now, yeah, I guess that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. If you've got any questions at all about the car, please do let me know in the comments, and I always reply to them myself. And yeah, thanks for watching. Give us a like for the video. I'll check out the new merch as well, obviously, shameless plug. Loads of new merch in the shop, driftworks.com. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers.
At Driftworks, we've helped over 50,000 happy customers since 2004. Our huge online parts store is simple to use, with superb shipping rates to anywhere in the world, and finance options available for UK customers. We live and breathe wheel fitment, so if you have any questions about your own car or any of our products before placing an order, please drop us an email at shop@driftworks.com or give us a call. Thanks for watching.